to the top of the bill, Kell Brook's back. Obviously, it's been a long wait for him and frustrating time, really. Kevin Bizier's the mandatory challenger. Obviously, do you think the main danger here is Kell overlooking Kevin Bizier?
No, I don't think Kell's overlooked Kevin Bizier. I think the main danger is Kell getting sloppy. Kevin Bizier can punch, and I know. Listen, I've seen people who automatically think this is a win, and on paper, Kell Brook should look good against Kevin Bizier. But what Bizier is he's rugged, he's very, very tough, he can punch, he's got a good chin, he likes to come forward and fight. So taking that all into consideration, the styles are very different to the Gavin and the Dan fights, where they're southpaws who like to fiddle around. I'm expecting a really, really entertaining fight. Maybe a couple of little spells where you think, because I think Kell's in that mood where he wants to fight. If he went out and boxed Kevin Bizier, I don't think he wants to do that. I think he wants to have a war. He wants to have a tear-up. He's been out for 10 months. It's been a year since he's boxed in this arena. So that's the mindset he's got. I want him to be a professional, go in there, like he said, break Kevin Bizier's fight and then heart, and then break him. And that's what he's got to do. He's got outstanding punch power. He's got speed. He's got accuracy. Kell Brook is the best welterweight fighter in the world, but we have to prove it. It's no point me just saying that and beating the guys he's beating. He's got to look good against Bizier, then we've got to get that big fight. We've got to stay injury-free, and we've got to go and get him.
Since that night in California when he beat Sean Porter, he's always been waiting, obviously waiting to come back from being stabbed, and then waiting for, to get past Jojo Dan, and then Frankie Gavin waiting for this big fight, waiting for Amir Khan. Do you think this is the end of the waiting once he gets past Kevin?
Well, I hope so. It's very frustrating for everyone, but Kell's got to remember he's the IBF welterweight champion of the world. He's not a contender. If Kell Brook didn't have a belt, no one would fight him. So the belt is the carrot, and that's why we have to hold on to it. That's why when the IBF ordered us to fight Kevin Bizier, that's why we fight him, to hold on to the belt, fight the mandatory challenger. So without that belt, it'd be very difficult to get the big fights. He's a decent name in America, Kell, but he's not a huge name. And a lot of these top fighters don't want to travel, so it is very difficult. And if we have to move to 154 pounds, we'll do it. But I'd like him to clean up the division. And but we have to find that big fight. And you never know what life's going to throw up. But the last 18 months with the stabbing incident and the broken rib have been extremely frustrating for Kell Brook. But you've got to deal with it. You've got to come through. We take our medicine in this fight. This will be a good fight for Kell Brook. He's been out for 10 months. It's a long time to be out of the ring. He's coming back from injury. But he's a sensational fighter. But, we all know he needs a big fight in the summer. And that's what he'll get.
Do you feel, have you kind of accepted that you're probably going to have to go to America to get that?
Not necessarily. I think we're willing to. That's the difference. I've seen fighters go to America recently and, you see their profile in the UK just diminish. That's okay if you want to base yourself in America, but I want Kell Brook to fill stadiums in the UK. I want him to be a great British fighter that has the mega fights and bring those fights to Sheffield and to the UK. But if we have to travel, we will. He doesn't mind. He's boxed twice in America. Beat Sean Porter in his backyard, not a problem. But I'd like to make the big fights here. Some guys will travel, some guys won't. Vargas, Bradley, they may travel. Garcia, unlikely. Furman Porter, unlikely. So it's,
Do you feel it's one of those, though, like you mentioned Garcia, if he was to beat Danny Garcia anywhere, whether it's America or here, then people start willing to come to America to fight Kell Brook because he's such a big, come to England to fight Kell Brook because he's such a big name. Do you feel like you might have to take one and then to get one?
We will take one. I just don't think that Danny Garcia will fight Kell Brook. Everyone in boxing knows how good Kell Brook is, and people will be watching this saying, well, what's he talking? Talk to people in boxing. They'll tell you how good Kell Brook is. Fighters, trainers, promoters. So again, there has to be the carrot. It's like Charles Martin. You've got a heavyweight championship of the world who in his first defence is going to come to London and fight Anthony Joshua. Why is he coming to London? For a sackload of money. That's the truth, right? So we need to have that same sack of money to these other big names. We need to build Kell Brook to a place where he can have those. So does he, do we take a little bit of a bath to bring a name here, or do we have to travel? Doesn't matter, we'll do anyone. But the fact is, these top fighters have still got to fight him and be willing to get in the ring. And most of the time, the only reason they'll be willing to do that is for a belt or for money, mainly for money. So it's difficult, it's not easy. It's, again, a lot of these fighters, they don't want to be in tough fights, and Kell Brook is a very tough fighter for anyone. But again, I say, he is the number one welterweight in the world. In my opinion, no question. We've got to prove it. Firstly against Bizier, which you can prove so much, then we have to go and show everybody the complete artillery.
Let me ask as well about one sort of curveball that came right out of left field, and that's Gennady Golovkin for Kell Brook. Now, I know Kell was kind of raging when he heard that Hearn news, or at least, it obviously put paid to his hopes of a fight with Hearn this summer. Golovkin, is he on the radar? What's the latest with that? We know you've got a good relationship with Tom Loeffler.
Well, what happened was, when Kell Brook, we got the news about Canelo, Tom Loeffler sent me an email saying, I can't believe Khan's fighting Canelo. And when I spoke to Kell straight after, he said, listen, you know what to do, get me the big fights. And he reeled off about 6 or 7 names, and Golovkin was one of them. So I just said to Tom Loeffler, look, Kell would fight Golovkin at 156, 157 pounds. And he was like, I don't know if we'd come below 160. I said, well, I'm just telling you, I mean it, he will do it. But, I think they've got plans to stay at 160, but Kell would fight him. HBO came on to us and said, would you fight Miguel Cotto on June the 13th? We said, in a heartbeat. I said, OK, we'll speak to Rock Nation, Miguel Cotto and Freddie Roach. Miguel Cotto and Freddie Roach would look at Kell Brook and go, no thanks. Do you know what I mean? Listen, if Kell Brook was a global superstar and there was tens of millions in that fight, I think they'd probably fight him. But they look at Kell Brook and go, whoa, I think we'll have an easier fight, thank you very much. So again, that's what you're up against. But we don't really want to move to 154, but we will do if we can't get the fight we want at 147. But we feel like with a belt, that's why we could be attractive, because our ability, Kell's ability, means that no one's going to want to fight him. And when they see what he does on Saturday night, I know it's Kevin Bizier, but again, even people say, well, it was Jojo Dan. All he did to Jojo Dan, I mean, it was like, and Frankie Gavin the same. Oh, Frankie Gavin, he's a top amateur. He's gonna fuss Kell. Like, no disrespect to Frankie, but Kell just went through the gears. He's that good, and when you've got a fighter that's that good, it's like having a racehorse. You've got a racehorse that can win the Derby or win these great events. You want to get him in the Derby, don't you? You don't just want to keep him running in these races where there's half a stadium or the prize money's. You want him to stick him in the Derby, get him up on that podium and show everyone that he's the real deal. And that's what we want to do with Kell Brook. Easier said than done, but I feel like if there's anyone that can do it, it's us.